The film delves into the brutality of medieval warfare and the personal sacrifices made by a man who became a symbol of Scottish resistance. The movie's opening establishes the dire situation for the Scots, who are under the harsh rule of King Edward I of England. Scotland, after years of turmoil, finds itself under Edward's oppressive occupation, and Robert, despite his noble birth, is initially seen aligning himself with the English king in a political bid for power. However, the death of his father and the ongoing English violence against the Scots set Robert on a path that will change history. The movie begins in 1304, with Robert being forced to swear allegiance to Edward, only to face personal betrayal. At the time, Edward had crushed most of Scotland's resistance to his rule, and Robert's family was caught between political loyalty and the desire for Scottish freedom. The film portrays Robert as a man torn between his noble status and his loyalty to his homeland. In a pivotal scene, Robert returns home after his father's death and is urged by his family to take action, but his initial hesitance is clear. He's initially reluctant to engage in rebellion, but the relentless oppression from England becomes too much for him to ignore. He decides to take up arms and assert his right to rule, ultimately crowning himself King of Scots in 1306, a moment that signifies the beginning of his journey from a reluctant lord to a determined freedom. From the brutality of medieval life, capturing the ferocity of the conflict. After his self-coronation, Robert faces immediate opposition from King Edward I, who views Robert's actions as a direct threat to his authority. Edward, played by Stephen Delane, is portrayed as a ruthless monarch whose obsession with controlling Scotland drives him to use any means necessary to suppress resistance. The depiction of Edward is central to the narrative, showing his manipulative and authoritarian nature. Robert's challenge is not just to survive but to unite a fractured Scotland and rally its people against an enemy with superior military resources. One of the key themes in Outlaw King is Robert's relationships with his peers and family. Robert's wife, Elizabeth de Burgh, played by Florence Pugh, becomes an essential part of his life and struggles. The movie explores their complex marriage, which is more than just a political alliance, it is a partnership forged in the fires of war. Elizabeth's role is not just as a wife, but as someone who influences Robert's decisions and provides a stabilizing force in his turbulent life. Their love story is subtly woven into the larger narrative, illustrating the personal sacrifices they both make in their pursuit of freedom. Robert's camaraderie with other Scottish leaders, most notably the fierce and loyal James Douglas, a real-life historical figure who became one of Robert's closest allies. Douglas is portrayed as a warrior who shares Robert's vision of Scottish freedom, and the film highlights their unbreakable bond. Together, they lead the Scots in several daring raids and engagements with the English. One of the most iconic scenes is the Battle of Loudoun Hill, where Robert's army, vastly outnumbered, defeats the English. This battle is a turning point in the film, illustrating Robert's tactical genius and his ability to inspire loyalty in his men. Despite being smaller in number, Robert's forces win a crucial victory, proving that the Scottish spirit is not so easily crushed. But Robert's journey is not without setbacks. The film does not sugarcoat his struggles, as Robert faces betrayal and hardship along the way. One of the most heart-wrenching moments is the loss of his brothers, who are captured by the English and executed, leaving Robert feeling the weight of personal sacrifice. The film also shows the political infighting within Scotland, where some Scottish lords choose to side with the English in exchange for power, leaving Robert to navigate a sea of treachery and fragile alliances. Outlaw King does an excellent job of showing the complexity of medieval politics, with characters who constantly have to weigh loyalty against personal. The film is its portrayal of the brutal, visceral nature of warfare during this time. The battle scenes are intense, grounded in realistic choreography and cinematography that make the viewer feel the chaos of medieval combat. The Battle of Stirling Bridge, one of the most famous Scottish victories in history, is depicted in a brutal, raw manner that doesn't shy away from the gore of battle. It's a stunning visual representation of the David versus Goliath struggle, where Robert and his army face an overwhelmingly larger English force but fight with courage and ingenuity. The film's battle sequences are crafted to evoke both awe and horror, highlighting the violence of the time while also showing the resilience of Robert and his men. While Outlaw King is largely focused on Robert's journey, the film also reflects on the cost of leadership. Robert's decision to fight for Scotland's independence comes at a personal cost. Throughout the film, we see him struggle with the burden of kingship, the sacrifices it demands, the lives lost in battle, and the constant pressure to maintain power. His ability to navigate these challenges, often with little support, defines him as a leader. The movie also highlights the theme of freedom, not just for Robert, but for the entire nation of Scotland. His fight is not just for personal glory, but for the liberty of his people from the English yoke. The climax of Outlaw King is Robert's eventual success in securing a peace treaty with England, a moment that allows Scotland to stand as a free and independent nation. But the film ends on a bittersweet note, as Robert's health deteriorates, and he reflects on the cost of the crown. The final scenes show Robert, having achieved what seemed impossible, understanding that true freedom is always hard-won and that leadership often requires personal sacrifice. One of the most notable aspects of Outlaw King is its historical accuracy, though, like many historical films, certain elements have been dramatized for effect. The film takes liberties with certain events, condensing timelines and embellishing some character interactions to heighten the emotional impact of the narrative. Yet, it succeeds in conveying the essence of Robert the Bruce's remarkable journey. It presents the struggles and triumphs of a man who went from being a nobleman caught in the turmoil of a divided nation to the king who led Scotland to its independence from one of the most powerful empires in the world. In conclusion, Outlaw King is more than just a retelling of historical events, it's an exploration of what it takes to fight for freedom, the cost of leadership, and the resilience of the human spirit. The film combines incredible battle sequences with a deep emotional core, focusing not just on Robert the Bruce's military victories but on the personal and political challenges he faced along the way. Through this gritty portrayal of a man's rise to power, the movie captures the essence of what it means to fight for one's country and the sacrifices that come with the pursuit of freedom. The film's raw cinematography, compelling performances, and the deeply human story at its heart make Outlaw King a powerful, unforgettable historical drama that leaves viewers with a sense of both awe and melancholy for the price of independence.